All right, welcome to the first section of this masterclass video series. So this first section here, the next 5 videos is all going to be about bulking. Who should bulk, how to bulk, how long to bulk for, how to track, train, all that stuff is going to be covered in the next 5 videos. So this video here, the first video, is kind of a summary and overview of bulking. It's going to be a bulking 101 video, and we're going to be going over who should bulk, how long to bulk for, clean bulking versus dirty bulking, and a whole bunch more. So that's what we're going to be going over in this video, and let's hop straight into it. So first things first, what is bulking? Right? All bulking means is trying to put on weight, specifically trying to build muscle and gain strength, right? That's kind of the general, in layman's terms, what bulking is. And in order to be in a bulking phase, you have to be consuming more calories, right? Bulking and cutting is just a matter of how much food you are consuming. When you are bulking, typically you are in a calorie surplus, which simply means that you are eating more calories than your body is expending. Right? So let's say on average that you burn 2,500 calories per day. If you eat that every single day, nothing will happen. You're not going to gain weight, you're not going to lose weight, you're going to maintain. Plus the name, maintenance calories, right? If you want to be bulking, you have to be consuming more than 2,500 calories in order to build new muscle and to put on weight. There are exceptions to this rule, which we will touch on later in this series, but the general premise is you have to be consuming more calories than you are expending if you want to gain weight. And the next question naturally is, who should bulk? Who is the ideal candidate to look into a bulking phase? And my recommendation is, ideally, if you are someone that is super skinny, lean, small, that wants to build muscle size, that wants to get bigger, build strength, that is obviously the ideal type of person that should look into bulking for sure. However, if you are on the overweight side and you're still wanting to build some muscle, you can absolutely do so in a couple different scenarios here. One, if you're a beginner and you're overweight, you can actually build quite a bit of muscle by hovering around that maintenance calories or even slight calorie deficit. Because when you are new, it is very easy to build muscle, right? In your first 1, 2, 3 years of lifting is kind of when you're gonna make most of your gains. So I'd really kind of take advantage of this newbie gain phase in your first couple of years. That's kind of when you're able to build the most amount of muscle in your entire life, just because the stimulus from the gym will be such a new stimulus for your body. And again, it's very easy to build muscle in those first couple of years of lifting. So again, if you are overweight, it really depends on your experience level. If you're brand new, you can easily build muscle right around maintenance or even a slight calorie deficit. If you are overweight, however, and you've been training for 5+ years, then it'll be a little bit more tricky, right? So if you're in that boat, I would recommend actually doing a mini cut to lower your body fat percentage and ideally kind of work your way back until you're kind of able to see the outline of your abs, right? Once you're able to do so, then I would kind of look into reversing and then going into a bulk from there, just because your body is significantly more efficient when it's leaner. So if you are someone that's overweight and has experience lifting, I would pull back the calories, go into a calorie deficit, which we'll touch on next time, and kind of allow yourself to lower your body fat percentage before kind of moving into a bulking phase. So those are kind of the different scenarios of people and when and who is ideal to enter a bulking phase. So the reason why you need to bulk in the first place is because you have to give your body enough energy and resources to actually be able to build new muscle, build new lean tissue, especially if you're someone that has already some experience in the gym. If you're not in a calorie surplus, you will not gain size, you will not get bigger no matter what. Like I mentioned, it is possible to build muscle if you are brand new to the gym, you've never stepped foot in the gym, you've barely ever worked out, you have almost no experience, then it is more than likely to build muscle at calorie maintenance or even a slight calorie deficit. If you're not in that camp though, like I said, you have to be consuming more calories than you are expending in order to get bigger and build new muscle. So now that we've gone over what bulking is and who should bulk and why you should bulk, let's talk about the different forms of bulking. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they hear bulking, they more so think of the word like dirty bulking, which I'm sure you've all heard, which basically just means eating whatever the hell you want. Pizza, cake, burgers, donut, whatever you want, basically kind of falls under that umbrella of dirty bulking. When in reality, there's two forms of bulking, right? There's dirty bulking and there's clean/lean bulk, right? And I actually recommend the clean/lean bulk for several reasons, which I'll touch on in just a sec. But first off, with dirty bulking, the kind of the biggest pro and why a lot of younger people do it is because it is so much easier to fit junk foods in your diet because they're way more calorie dense, and you're able to fit those calories in and be in a calorie surplus much easier than obviously eating like chicken and broccoli and rice and like those kind of foods, which are obviously a lot less calories per the same amount of food that you're eating. So that's kind of obviously the biggest pro with dirty bulking. However, I would never recommend this because, as we'll touch on in just a sec, you only need to be in a set calorie surplus to actually build new tissue, to build new muscle. Anything above and beyond that is pretty much just pure waste, and you're just kind of adding unnecessary excessive fat, right? I used to think that the more I ate, the bigger I would get, which is true, but not in a good way, because you're after a certain point, after a certain calorie surplus level, anything additional above and beyond that is just basically pure fat mass, which obviously you want to avoid. So like I mentioned, my recommendation for all my clients is a clean/leaner bulk. And I like to follow the 80-20 rule. So 80% of my diet is pretty clean, single ingredient foods, and 20% will be pretty much whatever I want to kind of satisfy those cravings or for mental sake or social purposes, right? So with a cleaner/leaner bulk, the biggest advantage to this versus a dirty bulk is you just feel a lot better, right? You're not always lethargic and have these highs and lows with sugar levels, and you just feel overall much better. You're getting a lot more micronutrients. It's much better for your health and a whole bunch more. So I always recommend, if you are looking to bulk, to go for a leaner bulk, and you can still have your cheat foods. You can still have your pizzas and cakes and burgers, stuff like that. But obviously limit it to, like I said, that 80-20 rule, where most of your diet, 80%, is cleaner, leaner foods. So you feel better throughout the day. You have better pumps, and just for your health purposes as well, it's obviously much better to be eating cleaner foods than sugary donuts all day, right? So those are kind of the two different forms of bulking. And to kind of round off this section here is how much of a calorie surplus should you be in, right? So the most I recommend doing is usually around 500 calories over, because that's usually the maxed out calorie surplus at which your body can sustainably build muscle without adding too much excess fat, right? So I would actually start with like a very slight calorie surplus, like 200, 300 most, and then use that for a couple weeks. And then once you plateau, then start increasing your calories or decreasing your energy output if you are someone that does cardio or stuff like that, right? So like I mentioned, you can only gain muscle at a certain rate. Obviously everyone's different depending on your genetic predisposition, but you don't need to be going crazy on your bulks like I used to do when I started. You don't need to be eating thousands of calories surplus because again, you can only build muscle so fast. Anything above and beyond that is pretty much just pure fat mass, which in the long run you kind of want to avoid because it will take a lot longer to get back to your leaner physique or your goal physique there. Now, what should you expect when you enter a bulking phase? Obviously, the main goal of bulking phase is to get bigger, build muscle, and build strength. But some of the other kind of effects or expectations when you're bulking might surprise you versus when you are cutting or just maintaining your weight. The first one being your level and quality of pump in the gym. You are gonna feel so much better in the gym, I promise you that, versus when you're cutting. When you're cutting, it is much harder to achieve the same level of pump versus when you are bulked up and giving your body more than enough resources to function, right? So that's kind of one of the biggest things is your pumps are gonna be way better when you are in a bulking phase because of the increased carbohydrates and salt intake from your diet from that increased amount of calories, obviously. The next thing is your strength levels, especially if you are someone that is a newer trainee, someone that has less than a year of experience in the gym. You can absolutely expect your strength levels to skyrocket in the first couple of years. That is honestly when you see the most amount of progression, not only muscle-wise, but also your strength in the first really 3 years of lifting. So really take advantage of this, especially if you're in a bulking phase. Again, you're giving your body enough resources to allow it to build strength and build new muscle tissue. Now, outside of the gym might be a little bit of a different story. Outside the gym, you might feel more lethargic. You might feel more tired throughout the day, just because your body is now spending a lot more time and energy to digest that increased amount of food that you are giving it, right? Digestion is a big process. It does require a lot of energy from your body. And so obviously if you're eating more throughout the day, you're eating a lot more calories, then your body has to utilize more energy and time to digest that food. So that's kind of one downside of bulking, is you might feel more lethargic, or you might feel like stuffed all the time. And we will touch on in the next video some tips and tricks on some foods that really help with satiation and higher volume foods, higher calorie foods versus lower volume foods that really help you bring in those calories a lot easier than traditional foods. So that's kind of the only downside, is you just feel tired and more lethargic because of the increased amount of calories. But that's kind of what to expect when in a bulking phase. The gym is going to be, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to get better pumps and obviously build strength and muscle much easier. But outside the gym, you might feel more lethargic. You might feel more tired from the increased calorie intake.